Halo semuanya, kembali lagi di Beropini. Selama beberapa minggu ini kayaknya kita lagi dihadapin banyak banget berita tentang Prancis yang katanya lagi perang melawan Islam.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Beropini. For the past few weeks, it seems that we are facing a lot of news about France, which is said to be at war against Islam.
Yang bikin heboh itu sih sebenarnya waktu Presiden Macron bikin statement bahwa, and I quote, Islam is in crisis all over the world today.
What really made a scene was actually when President Macron made a statement that, and I quote, Islam is in crisis all over the world today.
Nah, gara-gara pernyataannya itu, orang Islam dari berbagai negara tuh langsung triggered gitu ya. Langsung marah, bahkan sampai demo di mana-mana. Pokoknya lagi ribet banget deh.
Well, because of his statement, Muslims in various countries were immediately triggered, right? Immediately angry, even to the point of demos everywhere, anywhere. It's really complicated.
Kenapa sih Macron sampai bisa ngomong kayak gitu? Nah, ini semua berawal dari koran Charlie Hebdo yang memutuskan untuk mempublikasikan kembali karikatur Nabi Muhammad satu hari sebelum persidangan terhadap 14 orang tersangka terorisme tahun 2015 lalu.
Well, this all started with Charlie Hebdo newspaper, which decided to republish the caricature of the Prophet Muhammad one day before the trial of 14 terrorism suspects in 2015.
Gara-gara itu, tanggal 26 September, seorang pemuda umur 18 tahun asal Pakistan menyerang dua orang yang berada di luar kantor Charlie Hebdo yang lama, pakai pisau. Dan motifnya ya karena dia marah terhadap pelecehan dilakuin sama pihak koran tersebut.
Because of that, on September 26, a 14-year-old boy from Pakistan attacked two people who was outside of the old office of Charlie Hebdo, who had used a knife, and the motive was because he was angry with the harassment by the newspaper.
Terus bulan depannya, nah ini nih yang menurut gue gongnya gitu ya. Seorang guru di suburb Paris bernama Samuel Paty dipenggal kepalanya waktu dia lagi mau pulang ke rumah oleh seorang muslim Cechnya dari Rusia bernama Abdullah Anzorov.
Next month, this is what I think the gong is like. A teacher in Paris named Samuel Paty was beheaded when he was about to go home by a Chechen Muslim from Russia named Abdullah Anzorov.
Kenapa bisa sampai dipenggal? Jadi waktu awal bulan Oktober di kelas Moral and Civic Education, Paty mendiskusikan tentang kebebasan berpendapat dan berekspresi dengan cara menunjukkan karikatur Nabi Muhammad yang ada di koran Charlie Hebdo. Tapi sebelum mulai kelasnya nih, Paty sempat nawarin ke murid-muridnya yang beragama Islam untuk ninggalin kelas kalau karikatur ini kiranya bisa menyinggung mereka.
Why can it be beheaded? So at the beginning of October in the Moral and Civic Education class, Paty discussed freedom of opinion and expression by showing the caricature of the Prophet Muhammad in the Charlie Hebdo newspaper. But before starting the class, Paty had offered to Muslim students to leave the class if this caricature might offend them.
Nah, beberapa hari setelahnya, seorang wali murid bikin postingan di Facebook dan dia protes gitu. Kenapa kok bisa-bisanya ada guru yang nunjukin gambar orang telanjang yang dianggap sebagai Rasulullah di kelas? Dan si wali murid ini juga akhirnya ngajak orang-orang lain untuk ngelapor ke sekolah tempat Paty ngajar, sama ngelapor juga ke CCIF, yaitu komunitas muslim di Prancis.
A few days later, a student's parents made a post on Facebook and he protested, how come there is a teacher who shows a picture of a naked person who is considered to be Rasulullah in class? And the parents of these students also invites other people to report to the school where Paty teaches, and also reports to CCIF, the Muslim community in France.
Terus akhirnya postingan ini tuh jadi viral banget sampai di-repost sama masjid gede di Pantin, terus disebar juga di broadcast WhatsApp, dan mobilisasi protes ini juga dibantu sama seorang figur muslim namanya Abdel Hakim Safro atau Safro, gue nggak tahu cara pronounce gimana, dan dia ini dikenal sebagai Islam fundamentalis.
Then in the end, this post became viral that it was reposted by the big mosque in Pantin and then spread on WhatsApp broadcast. And this protest mobilization was also assisted by a Muslim figure named Abdul Hakim Safriol or Safriol. I don't know how to pronounce it. and he is known as a fundamentalist Islam.
Saking viral dan hebohnya, tanggal 12 Oktober nih Samuel Paty sampai datang ke polisi buat ngelaporin atas tuduhan ujaran kebencian dan pencemaran nama baik. Si pelaku, Abdullah Anzorov ini, dia itu bukan murid di sekolah tempat Paty ngajar. In fact, dia itu tinggal di kota lain, di dekat Paris, dan dia sempat beberapa kali ke sekolah untuk cari-cari info soal Samuel Paty. Dan setelah ngebunuh, si Abdullah juga nge-tweet foto kepalanya Paty dengan caption, "I have executed one of the dogs from hell who dared to put Muhammad down."
So viral and excited on October 12, Samuel Paty came to the police for report and accusation of hate speech and defamation. The perpetrator, Abdullah Anzorov, he is not a student at the school where Paty teaches. In fact, he lives in another city near Paris, and he has gone to school several times to look for information about Samuel Paty. And after killing, Abdullah also tweeted a photo of Paty's head with the caption, "I have executed one of the dogs from hell who dared to put Muhammad down."
Nah, akhirnya mulai dari sini terjadilah insiden-insiden lanjutan. Contohnya ada 2 perempuan berjilbab yang ditusuk di dekat Menara Eiffel dan disebut Dirty Arabs. Terus 3 orang dibunuh di sebuah gereja di Nice. Terus keesokan harinya ada laki-laki yang threatening orang-orang pakai pistol sambil teriak Allahu Akbar padahal dia ternyata orang sayap kanan. Terus masjid di Chateau d'Eau itu juga coba dibakar sama orang. Dan pemerintah Prancis juga lagi ningkatin banget nih personal security-nya di berbagai tempat untuk ngamanin negaranya karena ya situasinya malah lagi bahaya banget.
Well, starting from here, there was a follow-up incident. For example, there were 2 women in headscarves who were stabbed near the Eiffel Tower and called Dirty Arabs. Then 3 people were killed in a church in Nice. Then the next day, there was a man who threatened people with a gun while shouting Allahu Akbar, even though he turned out to be a demon. And the mosque in the Chateau d'Eau was also tried to be burned by people, and the French government is also improving its personal security in various places to protect the country because the situation is really dangerous.
Lanjut ke Macron nih, jadi di pidatonya dia awal bulan Oktober kemarin, dia itu mengumumkan regulasi baru untuk melawan gerakan radikalisme dan separatis Islam di negaranya. Ini sebenarnya nggak mengherankan, karena sejak tahun 2012 ada lebih dari 260 warga Prancis yang meninggal jadi korban terorisme. Dan dalam regulasi yang akan berlaku bulan September ini, masjid-masjid itu akan lebih dikontrol, terus imam-imam akan diberi pelatihan dan sertifikasi. Udah gitu kucuran dana yang didapat sama institusi Islam dan masjid itu juga akan dilihat gitu ya.
Continue to Macron. So in his speech, he was early last October, he announced new regulations to fight Islamic radicalism and separatist movements in his country. This is actually not surprising because since 2012, there have been more than 260 French citizens who have died as victims of terrorism. And in the regulation that will take effect this September, the mosques will be more controlled, then the priests will be given training and certification. That's how the disbursement of funds obtained by Islamic institution and mosques will also be seen.
Intinya Macron itu pingin Islam di Prancis tuh nggak terpengaruh oleh influence dari luar. Terus dia juga elaborasi bahwa yang sebenarnya pingin dia lawan itu bukan Islamnya, tapi radical Islam, yaitu ideologi yang quote-unquote keras yang dimiliki sama beberapa muslim di Prancis yang menyebabkan teror-teror tersebut.
The point is that Macron wants Islam in France not to be influenced by outside influences. He also elaborated that what he really wanted to fight was not Islam, but radical Islam, which is an ideology that is said to be violently shared by some Muslims in France that caused these terrors.
Pertama kita ngomongin soal karikatur dulu kali ya. Kalau gue pribadi, gue juga orang yang percaya dan mengamini kebebasan berekspresi dan kebebasan berpendapat. Tapi menurut gue, hal-hal seperti ini tuh juga harus ada batasannya. Gue percaya kalau freedom of speech dan expression itu ada nuansnya dan harus diperhatiin juga nih tujuannya apa, udah gitu penyampaian seperti apa. Kalau jatuhnya udah melecehkan suatu agama, terus melecehkan figur penting seperti Rasul dalam suatu agama, what are they trying to achieve?
First, let's talk about caricature. If I'm also a believer and believe in freedom of expression and freedom of opinion. But in my opinion, things like that must also have a limit. I believe that freedom of speech and expression has nuance, and you have to pay attention to this. What is the purpose? What is the delivery like? If you have insulted a religion, you continue to harass important figures like an apostle in a religion, what are you trying to achieve?
Dan di dalam Islam itu kan kita emang nggak boleh kan untuk menggambar fisik Rasulullah. Ibaratnya menggambar biasa aja nggak boleh. Apalagi menggambar gaya karikatur yang dibikin kayak si Charlie Hebdo. Yang emang satir dan tujuannya itu emang buat mocking gitu. Kayak biar apa gitu.
And in Islam, we are not allowed to draw the physics of Prophet Muhammad. It's like normal drawing. You can even draw a caricature style that is made like Charlie Hebdo, which is really satirical and the purpose is really for mocking. Like, for what?
Apakah buat ngasih statement bahwa mereka itu nggak politically correct atau apa? Dan sebagai orang yang nggak ngerti Islam nih dan bukan orang Islam ya harusnya orang-orang di Charlie Hebdo ini ya respecting aturan tersebut. Tapi pada saat yang bersamaan, walaupun itu udah gue anggap sebagai blasphemy gitu ya atau pelecehan agama, gue juga nggak melihat tujuannya kita harus sampai ngebunuh gitu kan seorang muslim yang marah akhirnya dia memenggal kepala seseorang atau ngebunuh seseorang.
Is it to give a statement that they are not politically correct or what? And as a person who doesn't understand Islam and is not a Islam, it should be people at Charlie Hebdo respecting the rules. But at the same time, even though I already consider it as blasphemy or religious harassment, I also don't see the goal we have to kill, right? An angry Muslim ends up beheading someone or killing someone.
In fact, gue sebenarnya agak kecewa bahwa di komunitas muslim, diskursus yang lebih dititik beratkan itu adalah gambar karikatur Rasulullah dan statementnya Macron tentang Islam. Menurut gue, kita sebagai muslim tuh juga harus sama vokalnya dalam condemning pembunuhan yang dilakuin sama Abdullah Anzorov ini. Nggak ada alasan apapun untuk menjustifikasi apa yang udah dia lakuin.
In fact, I'm actually a bit disappointed that in the Muslim community, the discourse that is more focused is on the caricature of the Prophet and his Macron statement about Islam. In my opinion, as Muslims, we must be the same voice in condemning the murder committed by Abdullah Anzorov. There is no reason to justify what has been done.
Selanjutnya soal regulasi baru yang mau diberlakukan oleh Macron. Menurut gue, Prancis itu sebagai negara yang colorblind ya, seakan-akan melihat komunitas muslim itu sebagai satu kesatuan yang homogen gitu. Mereka nggak sadar bahwa muslim itu bentukannya macam-macam, terus mereka punya kultur yang beda-beda, punya background yang beda-beda, terus masalah yang mereka hadapi di Prancis juga macam-macam. Alhasil negara Prancis ini tuh kayak jadi gagal gitu loh untuk melihat lika-liku dan kompleksitas yang akhirnya berakibat ke kemunculan radikalisme ini.
Next is the matter of the new regulations that Macron wants to enforce. I think France is a colorblind country. It's as if you see a Muslim community are a homogeneous unit. They don't realize that there are different forms of Muslims. Then they have different cultures and have different backgrounds, and the problems they face in France are also various. As a result, France seems to have failed to see the intricacies and complexities that eventually led to the emergence of this radicalism.
Dan mungkin sejarah kolonialisme Prancis juga ada kontribusinya ke permasalahan yang mereka punya sekarang. Terus sebagai negara yang colorblind tadi, Prancis kesannya juga kayak denying realita bahwa orang muslim di sana itu nggak semerta-merta dilihat sejajar dengan orang putih Prancis, dan indeed mereka juga dapat diskriminasi. Menurut data dari CCIF, ada 1043 insiden Islamofobia yang terjadi di tahun 2019.
And maybe the history of French colonialism also contributed to the problems they have today, continue as a colorblind country. France also seems to deny the fact that Muslims there are not only seen as equal to white French people, and indeed they can also be discriminated against. According to data from CCIF, there were 1,043 Islamophobic incidents that occurred in 2019.
Terus nih, tahun 2004 perempuan dilarang untuk pakai jilbab di public school. Tahun 2010 perempuan juga dilarang untuk pakai burka. Mereka juga sempat memperdebatkan soal burkini yang dianggap katanya nggak sesuai dengan nilai sekulerisme di Prancis. Tahun lalu Decathlon juga sempat dapat respon gak enak dari masyarakat Prancis karena menjual jilbab lari untuk muslimah. Ini baru muslimah loh ya, belum muslim yang lain.
Then in 2004, women were forbidden to wear the hijab in public schools. In 2010, women were also banned from wearing the burqa. They also had time to argue about the burkini, which was considered to be incompatible with the values of secularism in France. Last year, Decathlon also got a bad response from the French people for selling running headscarves for Muslim women. This is just a Muslim woman, not to mention other Muslims.
Terus muslim di sana juga banyak yang sulit untuk socially mobilize karena adanya stigma yang mereka dapetin. Jadi ya wajar aja gitu orang muslim di masyarakat sana merasa terisolasi, terus they don't feel like they belong, mereka merasa kayak outsider. Dan menurut gue aneh aja kalau Macron ujuk-ujuk protes sama fenomena radikalisme dan separatisme, terus ujuk-ujuk dia mau bikin regulasi yang mengontrol institusi muslim dari foreign influence. Dan kalau ngomongin soal agama nih di Prancis, pasti yang dibawa-bawa itu adalah nilai laicite atau sekularisme yang memang esensial banget buat mereka.
There are also many Muslims who find it difficult to socially mobilize because of the stigma they get. So, it's only natural that Muslims in the community feel isolated and they don't feel like they belong. They feel like outsider, and I think it's strange that Macron protested against the phenomenon of radicalism and separatism. And then, finally, he wants to make regulation that control Muslim institutions from foreign influence. And when it comes to religion in France, what is being carried around is the value of laicite or secularism, which is really essential for them.
Kata laicite ini berasal dari istilah bahasa Prancis, artinya tuh orang awam yang nggak berasal dari kependetaan. Prancis itu kan punya sejarah dan hubungan yang panjang banget ya antara negara dan gereja. Waktu French Revolution tahun 1789, akhirnya kan Prancis bisa secara resmi dari monarki berubah menjadi republik. Udah gitu dia lepas dari influence gereja. Tapi setelah itu sistem kenegaraan itu juga gonta-ganti terus.
The word laicite comes from a French term meaning a layman who does not come from the clergy. France has a very long history and relationship between the state and the church. During the French Revolution in 1789, France was finally able to officially change from a monarchy to a republic. After all, he was free from the influencing of the church. But after that, the system also keeps changing.
Balik monarki lagi, terus republik lagi, terus monarki lagi. Baru pada masa republik ketiga di tahun 1800-an akhir, Prancis memulai program sekularisasi. Dimulai dari pemecatan pastor dari komite rumah sakit dan dewan amal, terus penggantian suster Katolik yang bekerja di rumah sakit, udah gitu menetapkan hukum sekularisasi buat staf mengajar di sekolah, dan lain sebagainya.
Back to the monarchy again, then the republic again, then the monarchy again. Only during the Third Republic in the late 18th, France started its secularization program, starting with the dismissal of pastors from hospital committees and charity councils. Then the replacement of the Catholic nun who work in the hospital also stipulates secularization law for the teaching staff in schools and so on.
Dan pemisahan antara gereja dan negara baru diresmiin lewat Undang-Undang tahun 1905. The Republic does not recognize, pay, or subsidize any religious sect. Tapi, negara juga menjamin kebebasan rakyatnya untuk memeluk agama selama mereka tidak melanggar ketertiban umum.
Separation between church and state was only formalized through the 1905 law, the Republic does not recognize, pay, or subsidize any religious sect, but the state also guarantees the freedom of its people to embrace religion as long as they do not violate public order.
Yang lucunya, sebenarnya Prancis itu nggak sekuler-sekuler amat. Kultur Katolik Roma di negara mereka tuh masih punya influence. Orang-orang masih ngerayain Natal dan hari-hari besar Kristen yang lain. Terus gereja, sinagog, dan bagian kerohanian di sekolah, di penjara, dan rumah sakit itu juga masih dibiayain sama negara. Alasannya sih karena Kristen dan Katolik itu udah ada di Prancis sebelum hukum tahun 1905 itu diberlakukan.
The funny thing is that France is not very secular. Roman Catholic culture in their country still has influence. People still celebrate Christmas and other Christian holidays. The church, synagogue, and the spiritual section of schools, in prisons, and hospitals are also still funded by the state. The reason is because Christianity and Catholicism exist in France before the law enforced.
Sebenarnya kalau dari yang gue baca-baca, laicite ini tuh nggak memiliki definisi yang jelas dan nggak absolut juga. Maka dari itu, semestinya Prancis juga bisa menyesuaikan nih laicite dengan society yang mereka punya sekarang. Karena jujur, laicite yang seperti itu tuh nggak cocok untuk diaplikasikan buat sekarang nih ya. Prancis tuh diverse banget, multikultural, terus multi etnis, dan juga multirasial. Dan menurut gua, secara total nih ya, memisahkan antara aspek keagamaan seseorang dengan kehidupan dia di masyarakat itu kayak nggak masuk akal dan pastinya kontradiktif dengan freedom of religion itu sendiri.
Actually, from what I've read, licit doesn't have a clear definition and it doesn't absolute too. Therefore, France should also be able to adapt this licit to the society they have now. Because honestly, licit like this is not suitable to be applied for now. France is very diverse, multicultural, multi-ethnic, and also multiracial. In my opinion, totally separating a person's religious aspect from his or her life in society doesn't make sense and is certainly contradictory to the freedom of religion itself.
Tapi menurut gue ini masalah sebenarnya ribet banget sih. Semua orang yang terlibat tuh ya harus banyak diskusi. Makanya gue juga berharap Macron dan orang-orang dari pemerintahan lain itu juga bisa banyak ngobrol dan minta pendapat orang muslim nih. Biar mereka sadar kalau muslim tuh gak monolith. Dan masalah radikalisme yang lagi mereka riwah ini gak akan selesai cuma dengan ngontrol masjid sama sertifikasi imam doang.
But I think this is a really complicated problem. Everyone involved. There must be a lot of discussion. So I also hope that Macron and people from the governments can also talk a lot and ask for the opinion of Muslims, so that they realize that Muslims are not monoliths, and the problem of radicalism that they are still discussing will not be solved only with mosque control and imam certification.
Selain itu, yang paling penting juga supaya mereka bisa punya pemahaman yang lebih baik soal kebebasan berekspresi yang gak harus melecehkan agama lain. Dan satu lagi, please jangan membenarkan penyerangan atau pembunuhan atas nama agama.
Besides that, the most important thing is that they can have a better understanding of freedom of expressions that does not have to insult other religions. And one more thing, please don't justify assault or murder on behalf of religion.